Well, good morning. Hello. Welcome to today's installment of Bacon and Bourbon. Today's Saturday, the Saturday, 15th, I believe it is, and temperature here in Gold Coast is about 14 degrees. And it's a bit overcast today, so it's a little ordinary. So anyway, we've got interesting topics today. We're going to cover a bit meditation and metaphysics. So just briefly. This won't be an overly long show today. I've got my beautiful daughter here and my great-grandchildren, so I'll be speaking for only a short time, maybe an hour and a half. No, I'm only joking. No. But now's the time. Remember, as I said in the past, if you're easily offended and you don't think you are going to be able to take this, then scroll on because really very cool, came straight from America. And even if you do, and you do get offended, then I'm probably going to snatch a knot in your head, anywho. So now also, can you thumbs up? Oh, look, I know this is hard for me. This is my grandson. Do you want to come up and say hello to people?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Zephyr.
Hello.
Say hello up at there. Say hello to everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, isn't he very cute? He's just a good boy. So remember, now's the time to give a like and a subscribe and share, all that sort of stuff. Like it now. If at the end of the show you didn't like what I said, then just unlike it. It's just nice to get a couple of those tags there. That's really cool. So just to go through today, really I'm going to give an experience of my experience of meditation and what it's done for me over the years I've been practicing, and not a lot, but a little bit of meditation. Can I put you down so I can concentrate? Okay. You can stand up here. Maybe you can stand somewhere. Maybe I can't stand. Maybe you can stand. I'll just do it this way. I don't know if you guys have ever done videoing or flown a drone or a racing car or a remote control thing. It's awkward and it's opposite. Like I've got to do everything opposite with my hand here to what it looks like for you guys. So that's why it's sort of funny. I'll say you look at this and I'm trying to go backwards and forward and I'll be looking at the screen. It's actually really good fun, but it's a little bit challenging. Anywho.
Oh boy.
Yeah, mate.
The motor control cars are like really you do the wrong one. You crash into something.
Oh, I do that all of the time.
Yeah, with the motor control one.
Yeah, they're hard, aren't they?
Yeah, but with my shark one, I'm really good at it.
Are you?
Yeah.
You have to show me. You haven't got it here, do you? That's at home, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want a piece of bacon?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. That's very polite. You're a very good boy. So anyway, he's good. Hey, we'll teach him to meditate soon. Right? So your meditation is I think it's maybe a little misunderstood, and I think we often talk about. I'll just meditate on that, and the idea of that in meditation, from my mind, is to think about a process or get clarity in thought. Now, there's so many different ways that people talk about meditation, and you're looking at yourself. That's cool. So meditation, most people will think about it sitting with your legs crossed and your hands in this sort of position. But for my mind, meditation has it's so many different ways of meditating. Yes, we sit down, cross our legs to get the energy to go from one part of the base chakra to the top and all those sorts of things. I don't like using that word. I like using energy centers. It's probably more important to go through those basic things. But you can meditate. And, yeah.
Can I talk to the grandma?
Can you what?
Can I talk to the grandma?
Talk to the grandma?
Yeah.
Well, not now. We can do it afterwards. I'm talking to so many people out there. Grandma may be watching. So hello, Grandma.
Hello, Grandma.
Yeah, and who else? Who else do you want to say hello to? Oma?
Yeah.
Say hello, Oma.
Hi, Oma.
Who else? Mima?
Nah.
Nah, she's just there, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I've got to keep going. So most people think you've got to sit cross-legged or you've got to sit underneath a waterfall without a shirt on and get the water on your head and all that sort of stuff to get this clarity of mind. And meditation is, to me, it's an extremely personal experience. Now, you might decide that you want to lay down in your bed and meditate. You might want to sit in a chair and meditate. And the idea of it is to quieten the noises that are constantly coming through our heads. you can't completely stop the noise because you'd be asleep. Right? Really, the noise is what your mind does, and the thoughts that you have every day are just maybe tens of thousands of thoughts go through your head every day, and it's almost impossible to shut that noise out. But I think the goal of meditation is to not hold on to a thought and let it take you off into a tangent, a little bit like surfing the internet and going from one level down to the other. So if you are focused on a mantra, you look at, hang on a second, mate, you look at a candle and you focus on that, and when your mind drifts, you come back to that thought or that image or that mantra, and you're into a meditative state. Yes, mate.
I sometimes you meditate and it's really hot. You meditate in ocean and a river, and you can do it anywhere. And you cool down, you go in the sun and meditate.
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what meditation does, doesn't it? Yeah, that's very good. You're very clever. How old are you?
4.
No way. You must be 24.
Yeah.
You're so clever. Yeah? So, and then it comes down to, do you have to sit cross-legged to meditate? Like, do you have to be in that sort of position to do it? Now, I've said it already, and I'll probably say it a few more times in these shows. Like, I started martial art training in 1972. I started meditating in about 1974. And as the blend of those two things come together, I realized once I started teaching and getting into my passion, into my joy, I was meditating. Every time I taught a class, I was meditating. I'd go into the dojo and I would bow in, and not one thought of the day, not one stress got into my way. I'd come out of that session with such clarity and such peace and harmony that I couldn't believe that I was training physically, exerting myself and teaching people at the same time. I was meditating. It's amazing. And I actually also realized that part of that meditation process is that you yourself could be really, really good at something, and you're so competent at it that you just do it and you get such joy from it. Try it and see if you don't go into a position in a state when you're in doing that. So let's say it's woodwork, and you do woodwork and you're in your shed and you're doing some woodwork, and you just go into this state of utter bliss doing the creation of woodwork. It could be macrame, it could be knitting, it could be not driving a car, because you don't want to do that driving a car, but it's like a really good hobby and interest that you're doing that drives you into this state of pure bliss. And that to me is a meditative state. That's when you go into a position where your mind is clear of the daily problems and the stresses of life, and you come out of it. You go down and see Mum? Yeah, thank you. You can get yourself in such a place where that becomes the end goal for you, is your bliss spot. And mine was always training. Mine was always teaching classes, and now I'm finding that bliss spot in other activities and other things that I do. So I do some gentle movements and some flexibility stuff, and that puts me back into that bliss spot. Now, I'm not sitting cross-legged with my hands up here and and praying to the universe and those sorts of things, but I go into a set of movements and activities that puts me into a meditative state, not like you would see that the atypical meditative state would be. So for anyone who's always thought about meditating and never really given it a go, you don't actually have to go to a meditation school or to an Indian ashram or to do anything like that to actually meditate. Go for a walk in the bush and really admire and be grateful for the things that you see. Go to a forest and look at the trees and actually look at the trees for the first time, and not just see them. There's a big difference. You look at something, like I look at a car going past and it's just a car going past. Or I look at a tree and go, look out my window here and I see beautiful bamboos. Well, do I look at the bamboo? Do I see the bamboo? Do I see what it really is? And if you do that and you get into that state, and then something comes in like a stress of the day, and you go, no, I want to have a look at this bamboo again, and you go more into the bamboo, you're actually practicing meditation. And to do that on anything, you can do it on anything, any area, any topic, any suggestion, anything you want to do. Just get in and practice that mindfulness of observing nature, observing architecture, going down to a major city and looking at the structure of the building and seeing how they've made something. And I was at the airport last night picking up my daughter, and I looked out at a building, which was a hotel, and noticed these lines that uniquely went from one side of the building to the other side of the building with a gap in the middle, and they lined up. And I'm looking at that going, wow. And how did they do that? Was that like a string line? Did they cut it beforehand and try and get it all up there? That's mindfulness. That's being engaged in that thing. And that to me is a meditative state. I'm not thinking about the day. I'm not thinking about the stresses of the drive or what's going to come in the next couple of months or years or what happened 5 years ago. I'm there and totally present in looking at this architectural structure. Later on today, we'll go for a walk and I'll be looking at a tree or a bush. I'm like, that's just absolutely fascinating. And I'm not just looking at it, I want to see it. And that to me is your meditative state. You can listen to a podcast. You can watch a show on I don't care, you zone out watching whatever the latest show is at the moment. And you can get into a state where you're no longer functioning on anything and you don't even see the show. You don't even hear the noise. You're in that current present state of observation of whatever it might be. And you can move that meditative state into all your activities in your life. Excuse me. Yes, ma'am.
We want to play a game, but we can't put the remote games into the gun.
Oh, I can't do that in a minute. Maybe mum can look. Look, ask mum. Mum will do it, or me, mum can have a look. Yeah. That's really cute. My grandchildren call me old boy, and I didn't want to be called granddad or pop or poppy or papa or opa or anything like that because they all sound old. But when young Zephyr says, "Hey, old boy," it just makes me smile and makes me feel younger for some silly reason because old boy suggests old boy, yeah, like old boy. It's the Australian sign language. That's cool. Anyway, so meditation is for everybody. Now, some people may look at meditation as prayer, and that in itself is a beautiful way to meditate as well. And maybe that's something we need to be doing a little bit more of anyway, and being grateful, thanking ourselves for the opportunity we've given ourselves, and in prayer being grateful to everything out there for everything that we've got. And we really do need to look at that. And we're sort of that's sort of setting us, well, that sort of is a nice little segue into the next section I want to talk about. But before I go into that next bit, I just want you to contemplate meditation as a way of alleviating the obvious stresses in life. Now, again, I'll reiterate, you don't have to sit cross-legged with your hands up like this, namaste, all of those sorts of things. Get involved in an activity that is a mind-body activity. And we hear these holy trinities all the time, like Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, and the mind, body, and the spirit. And believe it or not, up, down, middle is still a holy trinity, and left, right, center. All of these things are the triangle of the trinity of three, right? So in mind is mind, body, and spirit. And if your mind and body aren't connected in a state of activity, then your spirit falls. So if you can get yourself involved in an activity, and I can even say simply as knitting, because there's your mind looking at the knit, there's your body doing the technique, and your spirit then connects with that. If you just work on your mind and you don't work on your body in an activity, then there's something amiss. So the Trinity is really important inside of ourselves, and meditation of any type can get you there. I'd really like you to feel that no one can tell you that what you're doing is wrong in meditation, because if it works for you, it's meditation. If you come out of that little thing you're doing and you feel so good, you feel so relaxed, and you feel so centered, then you've meditated. It doesn't matter what activity it is. So get into that. It's really important. Right, so before we go on to the next bit, the last week's song, and I've got to ask you guys to get involved in this, because Bon WW, awesome, snatch upside your head, snatch in your head. You've got to remember that. Such a great thing. He's the one who always gets it right. He's always guessing it. Last week's song was, the words were, today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. The song was Wonderwall from Oasis, and that was 1995. So I'm going to give that a little play, and then you can have a little listen, then we'll move on to the next section.
Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now.
So there you are, Oasis, Wonderwall. Great song, classic song. Now the song at the end of the show is, it'll be interesting to know if you can get it without busting the internet, which is pretty much impossible nowadays. There's so much, I just want to get on the internet to do it. When I looked at this song, I thought it was and I'll tell you at the end, but it was the most downloaded or streamed song in the 2000s, that 10-year period. So you go, I've never heard it, until you actually listen to it and you go, oh, yeah, of course, I know that song. So let's see if you can get that one. But anyway, the next part of the show is on metaphysics. Now, I'll tell a little story, but it just moves on from the meditative state, and in that trinity of mind and body and spirit, that if your mind and body are working together, then it actually has an impact into taking into the metaphysics side. Now, obviously, metaphysics is concepts of looking at reality in different ways and that sort of stuff, and never thought it would actually relate to health. But there's a little brief story. My mother passed away in 1992, so it's like 31 years ago now, and she was had gone through a religious stage in the 60s. She was a Church of England practitioner and took us to church and Sunday school, and then in the 60s, the late 60s, with the female movement, the feminist movement, and she obviously burnt the bra and all those sorts of things. She went through a crisis of identity and then started Indian meditations and Indian philosophies, and went to India to an ashram and spent some time over there. And through the 80s, and at the end of the 80s, she was diagnosed with bowel cancer and went through all the processes. She chose not to do chemotherapy, and that's her personal reasons for that, and that's absolutely perfect. She did radiation on the spot where the cancer was. And in the last stages, the last week of her life, I went to spend time with her in the palliative care unit. And she was, if anyone's ever seen a loved one die of cancer, it's actually a really horrible thing to see. It sort of makes it, or even now after 30 years, I still get emotional about it. She was skeletal. She was curled up in a ball, and her skin was transparent, and her eyes were yellow, and that's the morphine and the drugs and things. And about 2 o'clock one night, I woke up. I was lying in a pull-out chair bed beside her, and I woke up, excuse me, and she was looking at me. And it was really weird because she was looking at me with absolute clarity in her face. Her eyes were white like they were if she was a 30-year-old. She actually looked like a 30-year-old woman. Her skin looked plump. She looked full. She was absolutely beautiful. And she said to me, "Darling," I go, "Yes, Mum, what?" And she goes, "I know why I'm dying of bowel cancer." And I just stood bolt upright and I sat bolt upright in this bed chair I was in. I said, "Mum, why is that?" She said, I had a lot of judgment, and I didn't let go of that judgment, and it manifested in the part of my body that lets go of the shit, and that's why I died of bowel cancer. Why I'm dying of bowel cancer, and I put my head down and went, "Oh wow," like this, and then I looked up at her, and she was transparent skin, gaunt, rolled over, yellow eyes again. It was like at that moment, her spirit, or her, whatever you want to call it, whether it be, because God, universe, source, spirit, whatever you want to call it, or my mother told me of the power of the mind and how it affects the body. And from then on, I started really going into this thing. I looked at Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Yourself, I think it's called. I looked at Deepak Chopra, went through his stuff, even up to most recently the Joe Dispenza and stuff. Excuse me, I've had some bacon. And the way they talk about how the mind works with the body. And since that passing, that moment, I actually started to realise that there's so many sayings going out about for health reasons, and you've got to be the food, you've got to eat the food, and you are what you eat is what they tell us. And I started to realise at that point that that's probably not so true. There's a reasonably good chance that we are what we think. And those of you who've gone through a whole heap of mind issues and ideas of processes and where your mind can take you physically, think about where your mind can take you emotionally. We know that. So the physical aspect of this is now, my mother died of bowel cancer because she wouldn't let go. And I 100% agree, it manifests in that part of her body that wouldn't let go. Well, she let go of the shit, and she didn't let go. If she let go, she may not have died of bowel cancer. So it may be broad, and it's obviously, whether there's a logical science, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe, so therefore, don't give a rat's ass. I actually go with, if you believe something strong enough in your head, then it will manifest in a part of your body and it'll make you sick. Now, we do know, we've heard it through all of the mung bean people and love them all to death. Disease is just dis-ease. And you can look at that and laugh about it, but to me, it actually is quite true, because if you aren't at ease, nothing flows well. The energy doesn't flow through your body, the blood doesn't flow right, things start to break down because you're not at ease and at comfort with yourself and your attitudes and your beliefs. And meditation helps you get to that place of ease. And then if you are sick, and you actually can really get into this meditative position, and you can work your mind into the part of your body that's not in ease, and you can actually calm that down, and you can change the dynamic of that. And that there's been documented proof of people who go into a meditative state and they can reverse the condition they've had for a long time. So, and there is scientific documented proof on that. Now, you can bust the Google and find out about it. I've done it. I'm not going to put any resources down here because, I don't give a rat's ass. It's my opinion and my view only. And I think a lot of you out there, especially as you get older, you start to see this. Now, the same thing we do with our children. We try and get them to understand and take responsibility for this and be at comfort and be content in where they go. And that contentment allows us to be at ease in our mind, and our bodies start to regenerate. And literally speaking, if you are at comfort and peace in your mind, your body will reflect that. It becomes fitter, it becomes stronger and more able. You can train at a late age. You can do all those sorts of things. You don't put a limitation on yourself. Now, I'm going to hear someone say in the back, I hear it already, but I can't do that. Did you hear that? I can't do that. And that is one of those things about metaphysics that is absolutely real in itself, because I can't do that. You've given in before you've even given it a go. And you've got to really give it a go. To say I can't do that is a metaphysical way of saying, well, you're never going to be able to do it. I can't heal myself. Well, of course you never will. Right? I want to get healthy. Well, of course you do, but you're not getting healthy. You're giving yourself that want. So you can't want to be healthy. I am healthy. That's it. And you don't just, this is the mind, the metaphysical part of this experience of the mind and the body is, if you ask your body, you give your body the request, I want you to be healthy, then the body is giving you that, I want to be healthy. Just that literal, I want to be healthy. Where your mind's got to say to your body, you are healthy. And your body will go, oh, cool. And it might take time, and you've got to be really focused on it. But you can make that happen. You can reverse aging to a degree. You can get rid of illnesses and injuries to a degree. Obviously not all of them. Like, you can't grow a finger back yet. We've got to work on that technique. But If you've got a little bit of arthritis, not the critically bad stuff, and you really give yourself this focus and intensity through your meditative state in whatever way you choose to do it, you will find that suffering will ease, and you'll take away the need for medication to do that for you, because your mind is such a powerful tool, and it works both positively and negatively. You can convince yourself by dynamic and circumstance and environment to be unhappy, and you can turn yourself into a I don't know. I don't want to be there because I don't believe that's where I want to even entertain myself. But those of you who have been in that position, when you've come out of it, what's got you out of that state is a focus on something outside of you, something more powerful than you, whether it be a TAFE course or a university qualification or college, whatever it might be, a good job that you're really loving, you're passionate about, a new relationship or an old relationship that you rekindle, that you really start to feel this joy and this peace and this contentment, and you'll find that your body will reflect that. Now, since that time of Mum passing and me going through this metaphysical experience of learning, I've realized, and I think it's true as well. It's, when you've had a thought and you've had a thought for a long time, and all of a sudden these things come around you and you go, oh, I've been saying that for years. This has come true now in the last 10 or 15 years of, I've always believed there's 3 ages of mankind, humankind, personkind, of humans. There's the chronological age, which is undeniable. I can't be any less old than 1960 to 2023. That's 63. I can't wish to be 40 anymore because I'm just not. I can't be. That's chronological age. Psychological age is how you think you feel. Right? Now understand that, how you think you feel. And your psychological age will give you the biological age. Now, that may not be the right terminology for it, but I don't think I'm 63. I don't act like I'm 63. I know I am, but at 63, I've had a mindset of 35 to 40 years old. I'm strong, I'm able, I'm flexible, I work on the floor, I'm up and down all the time. I don't say I'm 63, so I've got to slow down now, going to put on a bit of weight just because my colour's changed and I've got a few laugh lines. That doesn't mean I have to be 63. So my psychological age is giving me my biological age. And I actually believe my body reflects my mindset. Now, I can turn that around in a heartbeat. If I start to sit down on the lounge and, I don't know, I'll have bourbon at 9 o'clock in the morning. Every morning. I'll eat nothing but, actually eating nothing but bacon is probably good. I'll have nothing but pastas and fats and all those sorts of things. Lots of potato because that's really good carbs. And I start putting on weight and they go, oh, yep, that's okay. Well, I am 63 now. I guess that's expected. And I think therein lies the problem of longevity and of the Western world of laziness and not having anything other than what's instant gratification for us. So bringing the session today into a concept of meditation and metaphysics, these two things together, if you have a focus and a physical and mental focus that you can do, like mine was always martial art training, now it's my flexibility training and my little bit of, I'm developing a Tai Chi style form of movements that if anyone's interested, I'll do a video and you can follow along with me. There's only about 16 movements now, which is going to actually end up being about 32 to 50. And it's going to be a progressive set, and they're very similar. But it's all based from my hard martial art now into a softer martial art. Anyway, I digress. I do that most days, and I don't punish myself if I miss a day, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. It doesn't matter. If people tell you that if you've got to do it every day, twice a day, or it won't work, then they're misleading you. You can do it once a day, miss 3 days, do it in the afternoon, do it in the morning. It's irrelevant. What's relevant is that you do it and that you get involved with that process. And when you leave the process, you go, I feel really good for doing it. And that's the thing. That's what you've got to hold on to, that feeling of really good when you do it. That'll take your mind into a state where your body will start reflecting that feeling of really good. And that's where self-control. Now, the tenets of my martial art were always focus, integrity, self-control, courtesy, and respect. So this is the middle one, is that focus is really important, respect is extremely important, but that self-control in the middle, that's critical. If you want to be able to regenerate injuries, ease some of your pain without unnecessary medication, then I ask you to get involved, understand a little bit about metaphysics, get into a form of meditation that floats your boat. And now that, as I said earlier, I'm going to leave it with this. It could be yoga, it could be stretching, it could be at the gym doing a weights class, it could be teaching of some sort, it could be knitting, it could be woodwork. It doesn't matter what it is, but when you leave that and you feel really good and your mind is switched off from your daily worries, you've just meditated. Do it every day, do it every other day, do it as often as you want to feel good, and you'll find that your body will change. And like, not overnight, but it can be overnight if you fully embrace it. Anyway, I can talk about this for a long time, but I won't. I'll cut this a little short, maybe not. No, it's a good one today. I'm going to spend some time with my beautiful daughter. She's just come back from America, and she brought me the shirt. Backwards, I can't do it. Don't give a rat's. You get it. You know what it says. Let me finish off with, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, remember to hit the buttons, share it, give this to someone else you might have a bit of a look at. That helps, whatever that helps with. The journey you're on is of your making. Hey, it's not, no one else can do it for you. You can make it good or bad. The saying "it is what it is" a negative expression. This is what you make of it, guys. You enjoy the journey, and whatever journey you choose to be on, whether it's downhill or uphill, just enjoy. Understand downhill takes you to despair, uphill is struggle, it's harder, but you get to the top of the mountain and you see the world, and then you realize there's another mountain to climb. That's the journey we need to be on. A little bit harder one, but there's much more gratification out of it. Remember, down the bottom here, Traos, take responsibility and own your stuff. Get into that, hashtag that whenever you need to. I'll move so you can see it. No, it doesn't matter. So Traos, take responsibility and own your stuff. The song for this week, right, then we'll sign off, is Coming Out of My Cage, and I've Been Doing Just Fine. I'll say it again. This is from in the 2000s, the most streamed track for that year, those 10 years. Coming Out of My Cage, and I've Been Doing Just Fine. Find out, please get ahead of Bond WW. No, man, if you can get there before everybody else, that's awesome. Recall your head, this is the 2000s. Next week we'll do 2010s, and then we'll go back to the 60s, 70s. We'll just rotate them through to see if you can guess where they are. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Do the stuff down the bottom, share it, get it out to the people that are out there. Have an awesome weekend. Be good. Traos, take responsibility and own your stuff, and enjoy your journey. Awesome, guys. Have a great weekend, and I will be looking at you next week.